let's continue as we move it along. Here's Randy in North Dakota. He says hello, and he's on the fan. On the fan. on what am I talking about? On Sirius XM, Mad Dog Unleashed. Hello there, Randy. How are you today, buddy? What's going on?
Hey, Dog. Second-time caller. I've been in the studio with Brent Musburger a couple times since I last talked to you.
Oh, very good. Like to hear that, Randy. Well done. What's on your mind today? Fire away.
I was going to say about the NFL draft. I think it's definitely the Vegas money's definitely on either Darnold or Allen for the top pick. I got some familiarity with the Allen, of course. Their coaches are from North Dakota State, Bull and offense coordinator Brett Vegan.
What is your take on him?
He's a lot like Carson Wentz. He's a clean-cut guy, and of course, he doesn't have any problems like some of the other draft picks
forget that. I'm not wrapped up on that. Can he play the position at an NFL level? That's what I'm concerned.
Oh, absolutely. You know, they run the same offense that North Dakota State ran with the pro style, so he'll be more ready than the other quarterbacks. His numbers, of course, weren't as good as Wentz's were.
Has he ever played in Has he ever played in a big game against top quality competition?
Oh, Mountain West is pretty weak. Weak Division I team. I think our North Dakota State would roll them up pretty easily.
That's the problem I have with it. This is a guy that has never played an important college game in his life. Now, you could say the same thing about Wentz, and he's going to be great. So I get that. So that doesn't mean anything all the time. But this is a guy that never was in the crucible there, Randy, of a big game. You got to be fair. That to me is a negative. At 56% completion percentage, that to me is a negative as a fan.
Yeah, and then you can say, too, about the two Pac-12 quarterbacks. They didn't really play against very good defenses, where Mayfield, he played against good defenses. So I think he's the most, I agree with you on that, he's the most ready quarterback out of the
the thing I don't like about Mayfield is I don't like that position in the Big 12. That is my issue about Mayfield. I am not a big believer in the Big 12 at that spot. The quarterback, those quarterbacks in that conference, in those systems with all those, I would be worried about the Oklahoma State quarterback for that reason. The Bryce Pettys of the world never panned out. I know that Mahomes has a chance to be good, so we understand that. He played well in that last game against Denver, but I would be somewhat concerned about the quarterbacks in that league. That is what would scare me. Here's Gino in St. Louis, and he's aboard. He's on Mad Dog Unleashed. You say hello, Gino. Good afternoon. How are you today? What do you have?
Hey, Chris. How you doing, man? Hey, I got something on the draft quarterbacks in a second, but I couldn't agree with you more. That was a no-hitter with Mania. Benintendi whining about that. What a joke.
Yeah, he was way out.
And it was an error for the shortstop.
100%. How can anybody 100%. Even question? How can anybody even question that? My God Almighty. Go ahead.
I couldn't agree with you more, Chris. Now, I couldn't agree with you more. When has there ever been a USC quarterback that's done anything? There hasn't been. And anybody that takes Darnold, I'll tell you what, Dorsey, that GM for the Browns, if he takes Darnold, he will regret it. There's never been any USC quarterback.
I'd have to think about that. Pat Hayden doesn't count.
Right.
You
go back and look at him, Chris. You're exactly right.
Marinovich,
it's the USC curse.
You can't go. You can't go with Marinovich. That guy, you can't touch him. There must be there must be somebody that I am missing. Who I don't know, but there must be a quarterback out of USC in the last 50 years that turned out to be a great player. I'd have to go back and look. Has to be somebody, but I know the last three are not great. And Hayden was okay. Marinovich had was obviously not the answer. Who else did they have at that position? Rodney Peete? No. Vince, what was the guy who played forever? Vince, what was his name? Vince Scott? No, what was his name? Played about 20 years in the NFL. Look him up. Bears. I think he played at USC. I'd have to go back and look at the history of the USC quarterbacks. Who now?
Vince Evans?
That's it. He go to USC?
Yeah, 1977.
So I'd have to go look at the history of the quarterbacks. That would worry me if I was making that selection. Here's Christopher in Cleveland. He's with us here on Mad Dog Unleashed. Chris, good afternoon. How are you today?
Good, Doggy. How are you?
Fine, Chris. Nice to have you aboard. What's on your mind?
I got two things. First will be about the Indians. I'm shocked that people will say, their staff is awesome. Their bullpen, it's okay. It's not as good as last year, but I am shocked that no one's talking about how awful their offense is. Just shocked.
It's 20 games, a lot of terrible weather. I got to get a little more of a read on it, but I understand where you're coming from. Go ahead. Next.
Okay, the second.
I mean, on offense, listen, Ramirez and Encarnacion and Lindor and Brantley, that's a good enough core to have a decent offense. Let's see if that occurs. Shoot.
Okay. And then the second thing I've got is this is the first time since the Browns came back from expansion where they have a quarterback that's not 100 years old or a perennial backup. I would love to see him go Barkley and then go defense with 4, and let's just see what happens with a quarterback that can actually play the position. Everybody that leaves Cleveland's either 100 years old or is a backup.
So you don't want you don't want to have a quarterback, Chris. You have to take a quarterback here at one of these 2 picks. That's what you have to do. You have to take
Why?
some.
Why do you say that? Because
you can't have Tyrod Taylor on your team. That's simple. I mean, he might do it for 5 or 6 games, but that's not the answer for that spot. And I don't even like the fact that the Browns brought him in this year to be a bridge. That bothered me. 8 in front of the hour. Continuing. Mad Dog Unleashed.